Brian was giggling his way through the horses there, weren't you? Enjoyed them, didn't you?
I was on my phone trying to place a bet still.
Very good. Business Day starts in Argentina today. The World Trade Organization meeting under a bit of a cloud, though.
Well, the WTO's ministerial conference is the global trade body's top decision-making forum. Ministers from 164 nations are meeting Sunday through Wednesday in Buenos Aires to negotiate ongoing trade liberalization plans and to resolve disputes between members. This year's conference, though, is the first in the Trump era, and where once the WTO could count on the U.S. to support open markets, it now has to contend with the protectionist U.S. administration. Ivana Scatola reports.
It's at the heart of the system of rules for international trade between nations. But the 11th Ministerial Conference of the World Trade Organization opened under a cloud of US hostility on Sunday. President Trump has been highly critical of the body, and his skepticism about international trade agreements has been a persistent theme of his politics. There's concern that protectionism, the policy of restraining or restricting international trade to protect local businesses from foreign competition, will threaten the organization.
Sentiment today is more inward-looking. The threat of protectionism remains ever present. And with this in mind, I think it is more important than ever that we build on the progress that we have already made to further strengthen the system.
The US has been a leading figure of the World Trade Organization under previous administrations, but has been somewhat resistant in recent times, such as blocking reappointments of US judges on the Court of Appeal for trade disputes. And the US isn't the only source of hostility towards the conference this year. The meeting opened amid a major security operation, as several hundred demonstrators marched along Buenos Aires' main avenues to protest against globalization. The conference lasts through Wednesday, but little progress is expected to be made due to the US's unwillingness to reach agreements.
Now let's turn to Bitcoin, the digital currency one step closer to legitimacy as futures contracts began trading on Sunday night.
Indeed, you can now speculate on the future price of Bitcoin by purchasing contracts to buy or sell the cryptocurrency at a certain price at a certain point in the future. The Chicago Board Options Exchange became the first major U.S. exchange to host Bitcoin futures on Sunday. Within hours, prices on the first contract, which expires January 17th, had jumped from around $15,000 to more than $18,000, with CBOE's website slowing and even crashing 2 times as trading activity overwhelmed it. Futures contracts do add legitimacy to Bitcoin, which is not backed by any reserves or regulated by any central bank. They do also open the currency to short selling, where speculators can try to drive the price down by betting against it on the futures markets. That's one danger for Bitcoin coming up there.
What about the traditional markets? How are they faring?
European indexes opening a bit higher on Monday as investors look ahead to meetings of the U.S. Federal Reserve and the European Central Bank later in the week. London's FTSE 100 up 0.4%, the CAC 40 here in Paris, and the Frankfurt DAX both up 0.2. Asian indexes also mostly gained ground on Monday. Tokyo's Nikkei index closing up over 0.5%, with automakers leading the way. Korea's Kospi ending 0.3% higher. Chinese markets closing in positive territory as well, with Hong Kong's Hang Seng ending up 1.2%, and the Shanghai Composite closing up nearly a full percent. Well, it's time now for some more of today's top business headlines. Qatar has agreed to buy 24 Eurofighter Typhoon jets. British defense contractor BAE will supply the jets in a £6 billion deal that should secure thousands of jobs in the UK where the fighters are built. BAE has struggled amid declining orders from NATO countries, and while the Qatar deal is a boon, it won't stop the elimination of 2,000 UK jobs already announced in October. And Uber heads to court on Monday to defend its ability to operate in London. In September, the city's transportation watchdog said Uber's lax approach to reporting crimes and driver background checks made it unfit to run a taxi service and declined to renew its license to operate there. London is Uber's biggest European market. It will continue to operate there through the appeals process, which could take years, in fact.
Last but not least from Brian, it's a very important day here in Paris for both business and the environment because it is a Climate Finance Day.
That's right, Stuart. Today marks the third edition of the conference, inaugurated at the COP21 Climate Summit here in Paris in 2015. The goal of Climate Finance Day is to mobilize the global financial system to speed up the transition to clean energy and to fight against global warming. Organizers estimate that some 50 trillion euros in investment will be needed to keep the planet under warming targets of 2 degrees Celsius in the coming decades. Business leaders and government officials meeting today at the French Finance Ministry to plan for that future. It's part of the lead up to tomorrow's One Planet Summit on the anniversary of the COP21, also in Paris with President Macron. We'll be keeping a close eye on that later in the broadcast later today. At 1 o'clock, I will have a guest from 350.org to talk more about the role of finance in climate change.
Excellent. Okay, just under 4 hours' time, in case you're not on Central European time, wherever you are. Thanks a lot, Brian. Brian, with that on France 24.